Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome back to Fire Emblem Heroes. For today's video, I'm going to review Aer. Now, Aer is a very interesting hero, especially because she's our first mythic hero. So actually, let's start things off by talking about her blessing. Her blessing is light. It's a very long description, so I'm just going to sum it up. The whole effect only works during light seasons, just so we're clear. Also, I believe it only works in Aether Raids as well. So all the units that are attuned with a light blessing will get Aer's Mystic Boost, which is HP plus 5 and Resistance plus 5. That's the first effect. Now, the rest of the effect is related to Aether Raid scoring. She allows the player to score more Aether Raid lift or points based on the amount of merges, Aer, and the amount of light blessed allies that is on the raiding team. Each ally that is attuned with a light blessing will grant 10 extra lift. Aer herself does not give you any extra lift if she's not merged. Each merge level on her equals 1 extra lift, so she can give up to 10 extra lift total. Let me give you an example. If you have a 5-man team in Aether Raids with 4 of them attuned with the light blessing, while the last one is a 0 merged Aer, then you'll gain 40 extra lift. Now if we take and replace that 0 merged Aer with a plus 10 Aer, then you'll gain 50 extra lift instead of 40 because a plus 10 merged Aer equals 10 extra lift. I believe the cheapest way and the most realistic way for the non-whale players to take advantage of this light blessing effect is to just summon a second Aer from a banner, use that one and the one you got for free on the same Aether Raid team, and bless the rest of the units on your team with light blessings. So your team would be like 2 Aers and 3 light blessed allies, which equals a total of 160 lift per successful attack. That's all there is to light blessings. If you are confused about anything, just comment down below and I'll help clear things up. Now let's actually talk about the unit. Aer is our second flying dagger unit. She has 35 HP, 32 attack, 37 speed, 14 defense, and 31 resistance. 149 BST with the potential of reaching 150 with either an HP or defense super boon. The way her stats are allocated isn't really out of the ordinary. I think it's what you would expect from a dagger unit, you know, just okay attack, very high speed with bad bulk and one of the 2 defensive stats. These are solid stats, but it's not anything special. It is a good stat line for Aether Raids though, which is where you should mainly use her in. Aether Raids is just filled with mages, so having that high speed and resistance is going to be very useful. I think what is more important is the fact that she's a flyer. She's going to be an excellent unit to fill in on mixed teams, flyer teams, and she can even use guidance like skills, so she brings that kind of utility to the table that can only be found on flyers. Moving on to her skills, first we have her weapon, Lifaberg. Grants 3 resistance passively, which is great for Aether Raids like I mentioned a little bit ago. If her HP is above half, then she essentially gains Swiss Sparrow buffs. In addition, if unit initiates combat, foe cannot make a follow-up attack, so it basically gimps foes that are using quick approach or just very fast foes in general. Then there's the normal defense and resistance -7 area debuffs like most daggers have. Lastly, if bonus was granted to unit, deals 4 damage to unit, so kind of like Fury 2. She only receives this 4 recoil damage when she is granted the conditional Swiss Sparrow buff from her weapon. This is obviously a very good player phase weapon. With neutral stats in her base kit, she'll have 54 attack and 45 speed, 1 home flyer buff, and she shoots up to 60 attack and 51 speed. Also, the ability to prevent follow-up attack from foes is really nice. That should allow her to survive matchups against dragons, maybe not distant counter armors unless you buff her defense up. Pretty sure she can still get one-shot by them most of the time, but still, being able to prevent follow-up attacks means less special charges for the foe. A lot of units carry 3 charge of specials like Bonfire, Draconic Aura, and Iceberg. Normally, if they have quick approach and you initiate on them, they can activate their 3 charge special on their second counterattack. Iceberg is her special. She has 34 resistance with her weapon, so Iceberg deals 17 damage, which is good. If you want to give her the highest potential of 1 round KOing distant counter foes, then a 2 charge special would be the way to go. Her A skill is Swiss Sparrow. It goes well with her weapon. She's gaining plus 8 attack and speed every time she initiates combat. It's pretty much the near perfect A slot skill for her if you decide to keep her weapon. New B skill is Mystic Boost 3. This is like one of the coolest skills in my opinion. It nullifies adaptive damage effects from foes, so in her case, dragons won't hit her defense stat. Instead, they will have to hit her high res. Then it also restores 6 HP after combat, and this works for both phases, both player phase and enemy phase. It's pretty much the ideal skill for Air. She's a range unit, so the nullification of adaptive damage is extremely useful for her because dragons are very common, and the 6 HP restoration help keeps her above the HP threshold so she can continue to use her conditional Swift Sparrow effect from her weapon. A lot of you guys are probably wondering who would be a good unit to inherit the skill on. Any player phase range unit with good resistance can use it. Julia, Deirdre, and Felicia are the top 3 candidates. Any high res dagger with Cloud Mayugi can use it as well. As for melees, the ideal units would have to be the ones with very high defense and low res. An example I used in the weapon refinery review video was Ogma. He has very lopsided defensive stats, so he would appreciate having the skill to prevent Felicia and physical attackers with Sorcerer's Blade from hitting his garbage res. He can also make good use of the 6 health restoration as well. Is another melee that people have been looking into. Double line recoils for 5 damage, and he needs to be at 100% HP in order to use the effect, so the 6 health restoration would keep him at full HP at all times. On paper this does sound pretty good, but I'm not sure how good it really is. Like for units like and Ogma that I showed, you could just give them Renewal 3 and they would basically function about the same, but a little bit worse. The adaptive damage nullification is very situational for melees because the only units that can deal adaptive damage to melees right now are Felicia and units with Sorcerer's Blade. Her unique C skill is Sparkling Boost. At start of the player's turn, restores 10 HP to ally that has been dealt the most damage, which excludes the unit. This skill is either very useful or useless. 10 HP is not a lot, but if you have a very tanky team that utilizes a skill that requires the unit to be at a certain HP threshold, like Quick Riposte for example, then you can definitely make good use out of it. However, it's not as useful on teams that have a lot of squishies. It really depends on how you use it. One thing for sure though is going to be amazing for free-to-play guides. I really dislike bringing healers and Veronica to my free-to-play team, so hopefully this skill alone is enough healing for those Grand Hero battles. Alright, so now let's get into Key IVs. Air is pretty good with a lot of combinations. I think Air is going for a player phase build with like plus speed or plus attack with minus defense. If you plan to use Air as a mage baiter or as a ployer, then plus resistance minus defense is good for that. If you want the extra BST bin for arena, then plus HP minus defense is the best combination for that. You can salvage almost any stat nowadays as long as your team is built for whatever gimmick you're trying to do, so even close counter builds with plus defense IVs can work, but you'll need a bunch of units with dry defense around her. Overall, I really like Air. She's a freebie with a very synergistic default set. Amazing unit for new players. I love her art, her design, and her skills. I will definitely be using her a lot in my free-to-play guides, so don't fodder her away if you are someone who uses my free-to-play guides often. The only thing I dislike are the new blessing effects for Aether Raids. I'm not that competitive in Aether Raids, so I'm not as annoyed by it, but it still does leave a bad taste. I also really don't like when the game forces me to use specific units because it kind of kills creativity and team building. I really don't want to put Air on every single Aether team of mine just so I can gain extra points, so that's pretty annoying as well. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about Light Blessings and Air's effect on Aether Raids in the comments below. Also, if you have any questions on builds, then you can ask them in the comments as well. And as always, thank you guys for watching my review on Air, and I'll see you guys in the next video.